So basically, for what I'm going to talk about today, the first part will just be a little bit about what digital storytelling is. I'm sure some of you have probably used it before or seen it before. So just kind of a little bit about what it is, and then I picked two different programs to go over, and a lot of just ideas of how you can maybe implement them into your classroom. It stood out to me as being the most important and making me realize as a teacher I need to use these things more in my classroom. So in response to the new demands of the information age, teachers now integrate technology across the curriculum. Traditional literacy instruction involved the use of textbooks, skills lessons, ability groups, numerous worksheets and workbook pages, as well as writing that only the teacher read. So in contrast to that is what we need to do to make sure our students are 21st century learners, which would mean they're communicating with their classroom peers, but also reading ebooks, receiving and sending email, locating and evaluating online information, preparing reports with presentation software, which is kind of what the digital storytelling will be a lot about, establishing dialogue with learned individuals in other regions, and writing for both a local and global community. So that really kind of sunk in with me that they're able to prepare things, especially using the digital storytelling, that are not just things that they're going to hand in to me and I'm going to read and give back, and maybe their parents will read it and maybe not. It's something that they can prepare and publish. It can go in classroom websites or on YouTube and places where they're actually publishing their work. The first program we're talking about is the Shadow Puppets, and this is the website for it. It is an app that would has to be downloaded. I think it's only for on the Apple Store, but this website has a lot of really good information. There's classroom stories and a lot of different lesson ideas, which I've included some of those in the handout we're going to go on. It lists different ways to link it to the Common Core. There's video slideshows. I found a lot of the information that I needed to do on this site. So I think that if you decide you want to use it, you can find a lot of the things here, and all of the handouts, all of that you can find here. Example I have, I'm probably going to embarrass Madeline, but when I was putting this, all of this stuff together, it was a while ago before it got canceled twice, and my students hadn't actually used this program yet. So I wanted to see what a student, like the age I teach, like a first grader, could actually do with it. So I kind of quickly, one weekend sat Madeline down, told her what the program was, and said, write out a story, this is how you find pictures, and kind of just set her loose to do it. It's just so that I could, get an example of what it was like to include and see what it would be like when I tried to do it with my students. So I'm going to show you the example that she made, just so you can get, a real example of what a first grader can do with it, or what a young student can do with it. It's definitely not perfect. I mean, this was her first try, and there's loud noises in the background and stuff, but it's a good example of what a real student's work looks like. She's probably going to be embarrassed. In your packet is it's a graphic organizer. The front side of it is an example that the student has already done, and then on the back it's a blank one. I used this in my classroom. We did, near President's Day, we did reports on either Abraham Lincoln or George Washington, and, sorry, I'm holding it upside down. So they got all of their things written out, and we're first grade, so our final stories were about 6 sentences long, and so I had them write each of their 6 sentences went here. They drew an idea of what kind of picture they wanted, and then they had the whole thing mapped out for when they actually started recording their story. So I think this graphic organizer is actually really useful. And of course, this could be used for any type of digital storytelling thing. You don't have to use it just for the Shadow Puppets app. And then of course, I know we're trying to move away with the digital from doing all of the paper, but for my kids, they definitely need to practice, especially the first time, to actually be able to do this. So I wanted to also talk about the image search with this one. And there's lots and lots of digital storytelling apps, but I chose this one to go over in more detail because of the way the image search actually works. There is a built-in image search within the app itself. So that really, it says here, it dramatically expands the video making possibilities but it does give you a lot more options. Within the app, there's an educational search and a web search. If you're doing the educational search, you're going to find sources from things like the Library of Congress, the British Library, the Metropolitan Museum of Art, NASA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Those are all images that they have saved there. So if you're searching the educational search, that's where the images will come from. And then there's also a web search for images, which is going to be more like things like clip art, Yahoo Images. Everything, it's an educational app, so everything does go through a filter. And the app claims that they have additional filters in place to make sure nothing else gets through. So even if you're doing the web, have the web search enabled, nothing inappropriate should get through. It says the occasional PG-13 image may go through these iPads, and it's the little bunny rabbit. And like I said, my students have used this before, so I think I've uploaded most of their videos I was going to use. They shouldn't still be on your iPads, but they may be still on there, and then there's some samples. But it's pretty easy when you want to actually make a story. You just click on the Create New, and then you'll see all of the different sources you can use on the side to pull your images. And they should both, well, somebody may have the iPad that I had to turn off the web images search because I had an irresponsible group of students, but they should all be listed here where you can choose the educational searches or web searches. So, and then you also, of course, have access to the camera roll. So if you were doing something like creating an ebook and they were taking pictures of their story they were reading, you would just have to take pictures and they would show up here. So after you choose the pictures that you want to do, let me pull some up here. I know you can't see my iPad screen well. So sticking with Madeline's theme earlier of dogs, I just typed in dogs, and I have just the educational search up on this one, and I'm still finding plenty of things, but I think you definitely get a lot more with just the web search. So after you choose some, they come down here at the bottom. You can see like a little number for however many you've picked. And when you have all the ones you want, you just hit the next button beside it. After you have hit next, it will kind of show you all of the images that you have chosen. Sometimes one doesn't load right, it just has an X, and I haven't been able to get that to fix. I just look for another image to fit that. And you can rearrange them there. You can go back and add more images. Once you're sure you have the ones that you want and in the right order, the page that you actually record on looks like this. There's a text box where you can type if you want any words to pop up on the screen. And then the music, you can use iTunes Library for your music, or there's a selection in of background music. When I did this with my kids, some of them, they were really excited about choosing music to go with their stories, but some of their music was too loud. And then once I listened to their stories back, I could just hear the music and I couldn't hear what they were trying to say. So my suggestion would just be, if you're using it with kids, make sure it's not too loud, and you use the same music kind of goes through the whole slide. So then you just hit start and start recording what you want to say, and then slide it over, and you can zoom in and out while you're recording also to change the picture. Let's see. The stickers, like you saw in the example that we showed, they don't pull up for you to get them until you're actually recording, but then it looks like this wand. And there's a whole bunch, well, there's not a whole bunch, but there's different things here you can choose from. And then if you just touch the screen while you're talking, that will actually show up while you're recording now. And you can just keep recording and swipe, or you can pause. My kids had to pause between each one that they did, just so that they could practice before they said the next one. But if you have everything you want to say planned out, then you can just go ahead and record it. So like I said, I think I learned best just kind of actually playing with it. And this app, I don't know if I said at the beginning, but the app is free. So if you have iPads in your room, you don't have to pay to put it on there. So I'm setting a timer, like we're first graders, and I would just give you like 5 minutes to just kind of play around with the app, and you can make one, and if it's on there, it's fine. Program that I was going to show you a couple examples of and work on is I think it's probably less exciting, but the reason that I'm enjoying this one is because it is something that's already on all of your computers here in the computer lab and in your classroom. So I know not everybody has access, doesn't have as many iPads in their classroom. So you know, you can just use this on your regular desktop. It's definitely not new or exciting compared to the other one, but just on all of the computers, a simple digital storytelling tool is Photo Story 3, which is Microsoft's free version of Microsoft Photo Story. It's free Windows program. You create audio video presentations using photos and images on your computer. And it allows you to quickly crop, rotate, edit pictures, personalize them with captions and titles, add sound effects, narration, and background music. It saves your presentation so you can quickly, some of them you can email. The ones that I did on there, I just uploaded onto YouTube. So like I said, it's on all the computers. All right, so if you, this is where you type the words that will actually show up on your screen. So if you want to say, what, Felix Firebird, whatever you're typing is good. All right, so that once you're recording and making your digital story, it will actually show up on there. And of course, there's all of the tools where you can put it in the middle or bottom or change your text. I know you all know how to do all of these things and play with it. So different fonts, all of the fun ways to change it. All right, and then next. Okay, there's no microphone, but that's fine. We don't really need to record it. So when this part comes up, and this is kind of can get confusing between the last screen that you have seen. When you're actually at the recording screen, you can go through and type what you want to say when that screen is up. So I know we're just using one picture, but if we had a couple different pictures here, for each one you could type what you wanted to say. It won't read it for you, but that way when you're going through and recording it, it's you know, a good way to jog your memory of exactly what you wanted to say. Step-by-step guide for using Photo Story 3. I think it's pretty simple. It's not nearly as user-friendly as the app was and some other sources, but it is one that's already on the computers. So that's there. I'm not going to go through it, but if you needed any help with how to use it or a handout for older students to show how to do it, that would be there. There's a couple extra resources. There is a whole page, a whole 3 or 4 pages, I think, about different digital storytelling apps and sites. So I definitely have not, I compiled this from multiple lists of different digital storytelling apps of different ones you can check out. If anybody thinks that, you know, has any that are really good ones, we can definitely share those. But these are some of the ones that I found. I think that the easiest thing to do is just do a Pinterest search on digital storytelling and you get tons and tons of different apps and websites and resources. Other extra resources I have here are rubrics. There's 2 different links that you can go to where you can build rubrics and find different rubrics. So these could be used as ways to evaluate the digital stories. And I can email this pack to you if you need it so that you actually have the links that you can just click on.